Welcome, everyone. My name's Mark, and I am the creator of Teach Me PCB and co-facilitator of this year's course, along with my good friend, Jesse Robinson. We've got office hours tonight, so thank you to all our sponsors, Advanced Assembly, Royal Circuit Solutions, Walkwee, DigiKey, Oshpark, and theanalog.io, who helped make this possible. With that, let's get into it. Welcome, everyone.
Hello.
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 Oh, Elliot's in a different location.
Yeah. A better locale here. It's tremendous.
Looks like a hotel room.
It is a hotel room.
We don't have your camera yet, so I'm going to pop you until we get your audio and video working, buddy. Let me know and we'll bring you in. Sorry about that. Elliot, what brings you inside?
Work. I'm in San Ramon.
Cool.
Amazing.
And Andrew, welcome back.
Thank you.
Do you have pictures to share with us?
Yeah, I will try and dig some up.
Okay. So, well, welcome, everyone. What would you like to talk about tonight? Jesse?
I didn't.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, I was gonna say I didn't have anything in particular. I was mostly listening as I was working on my PCB layout, and was going to ask questions as they came to mind, and otherwise here just for the discussion in the company.
Cool.
Okay.
All right. Well, we're happy to have you. Jesse, you had a couple things, I think.
Yeah, so the first one was Andrew pointed out in the Discord that I have the wrong key switches in my Keycad libraries. I included a step folder, which I always put in my libraries of just random assorted step files that I found. And the ones that I had in there are like the everything flavor of the cherry switch that has like an LED, and it has like 2 extra mounting posts that we aren't using. And that like affected because you were trying to add like your own little NeoPixel there, and you saw that there wasn't clearance. Yeah. So in general,
there was 2 prongs of the LED poking through my board. I was trying to figure out what the heck those were.
Yeah, and looking on mine right now, I actually see. I didn't even notice they're poking through my Pico, but they're not there. Yeah, and that's so anyone that's using my files, just know that I just included the step files because I usually use step files as kind of just like visual things, and they're not super accurate. The encoders that are in there too don't have like the 5 pins. They're like 3 on one side and 2 on the other. So that's generally because I'm not usually doing things that are super mechanically constrained. Usually, I just put the files in there for looks and to just kind of give you another view to see if things are going to hit. But if you're like constrained and such and want an accurate representation, you have to go out and find the right ones. I usually use GrabCAD and like 3D Content Central, and usually you're not getting exactly what you want. You're getting something that may fit in your hole and fit in your outline, and that usually works for a lot of things, but it's not the best choice. So
cool. Yeah, I did find another step file for a different Cherry MX that didn't have it, so I just used that and that seemed to work just fine. So I was able to figure it out.
Someone else, Elliot, do you remember? Made a footprint that has the NeoPixel under the Cherry, and it looked really neat.
I made the footprint.
You were okay.
Somebody, we'll have to look back in the forums, dug up a 3D model or made one that fits it. So.
Yeah, well, yeah, there is one. I found one as well. So I have the footprint and the 3D CAD for the reverse mount NeoPixels.
So real quick, is anybody else getting some weird static on Andrew's?
You're not Andrew.
How do we fix that for him?
I think you have to take down Skynet before it goes live or whatever.
I'll change audio.
Sorry,
I do
buddy.
the same thing. I'm using like my webcam's microphone because my actual headset's microphone isn't as good for some reason.
Yeah. Okay, so you said then that somebody made a 3D model of the Cherry MX with the LED, the 5050 LED under it.
Someone's got one that fits my footprint and my symbol. So we could probably put all those 3 things together and slap them somewhere. The only good thing I can say about that is I can promise you that the placement of the NeoPixel under the switch works because I've used it in reality. So definitely.
Is this audio any better?
Oh yeah.
Much better.
Much so.
So my question on the NeoPixel then, Elliot, is so I switched to the SK6812. Is that the one that you're using?
I'm using the regular old WS2812Bs, but
Okay.
I think they're the same
Well,
dimension.
maybe. So I found these on DigiKey, and these are the ones that they actually have like flanges on them to make it easier to mount from below.
The reverse
Oh,
one.
okay.
He's using
the
just
reverse
standard top
In
ones.
that case, then you can do whatever. Just put a
Oh, I
hole,
will.
right?
Yeah, neener.
Yeah. Yeah, with it on the top, you pretty much have to get it probably within half a millimeter or so. And you got to solder it right in the right spot too for the switch to actually fit on top of there. Otherwise, it'll be all cockeyed.
That's fine. For anyone dealing with USB-C, I think that thing's like half a millimeter pitch to begin with. So
Wow.
You can sneeze while doing it, and it'll be fine.
Very cool. And then,
What?
Jesse, you said something about the RGB versus GRB.
So NeoPixels, like the generic term, they come in a lot of times you're buying things with different chipsets. The SK68 is it the 6811 and the WS2811, they have different data formats. One of them is green, red, blue. The other one is red, green, blue. And if you're using, Elliot had the good idea of using, instead of the driver that we're using to run the encoder RGB LEDs, using a WS2811 discrete chip that's inside the NeoPixels and just adding that to your chain. The issue it comes in if you don't get the right NeoPixel, that you might have differing colors. Like the ones I have, as you notice, my backlights are green, and then these that are tied to the same chain are red because my red and green are reversed. So one option is you could either have like jump it in such a way that you can switch the red and green pins on your LEDs, or you can use another level translator and go to a different pin on your Pico and have two different NeoPixel like chains in your code. You could also just change it in your code if you don't want to use like the regular like pixel.fill and stuff. You can do it all in software, but then you can't use like some of the overall libraries. You have to kind of write some of your code on top of it.
Yeah, I don't think you'll be able to do the fun stuff. I've been messing around with only like some loops and arrays and ranges, so it was very easy to. I actually have two sets on this now. Some on the top and some on the bottom, and so I just separated the first 8. I deal with those in one way, and I deal with the other 7 on the bottom differently. So I was thinking, oh yeah, just transpose the red and the green for the last 2 pixels in your chain, but that also assumes that like you won't run into any timing related issues, or it seemed like there might have been some other incompatibility, but unclear.
That was that Adafruit thread. There was an Adafruit thread that talked about the same thing, and they basically said like, don't mix them because there's some incompatibility. And it was kind of didn't go into detail with the incompatibility, but something like they might flash or flicker or etc. So it might just be best to run them on separate chains. And you can get level translators that have like 2 input, 2 output, and then like an SOIC 8 or an MSOP 8 package, and they're readily available. So whereas I think our level translator, I think, was a little hard to source too. So
it's tiny also.
The dual, I think there's a lot more options because there's a lot of people doing level translation for I2C. So that's 2 in, 2 out.
Yeah, it takes away the SPI device, but I think it still works in our favor pin-wise on the Pico to use a second string in the level translator, like 2 of them.
Yep.
The only need to use an SPI device is for me as a teaching tool, because then I get to talk about SPI. And at some point, I want to circle back around and remake I think they're cool graphics in the textbook, but I'd like to redo those, slow them down, make them a little clearer. So. Oh, looks like we lost Andrew. There's Andrew back.
He's back. So I don't think any of this stuff has made it to the forums other than a casual mention of the WS2811 chip. I don't know if there's a plan to put something out there, like another schematic that has one of these options, or if it's just, if there's such a low student count that's having a problem sourcing that chip, that it's not an issue. I'm not sure.
So that was something I was thinking about doing last week when I was kind of running myself into the ground. So then I'm just like, meh. But I could, if there is an interest in it, and people let me know, I could do that. I could make a Revs variation C.
You know, one thing with the encoders that I kind of had from the start was all the kinds of knobs I'd like to use are opaque. So the funness of an RGB encoder that lights up the shaft is kind of like moot. So,
Fair enough.
yeah.
Mhm.
I thought about just drilling holes through it so it could kind of shine out the side. Who knows?
I did that anyway because I had the wrong knobs for the shafts. So I drilled them out and it worked great because then I made them lower profile because they stick up so far beyond the keys. So, yeah,
Which was my fault. Sorry, Jesse. So
that's okay. They look like better pupils now. So
yeah, I ordered the wrong. So I ordered 2 sets of encoders, and I ordered the same part number each time, but I got different encoders each time.
Were
so
they
I got
real
a bad
ones
pick.
though?
But here's the good news. I'd screwed up on the part number that I needed. So when I got the bad pick, I actually got the ones that I wanted.
So, okay, so Elliot, so you used a clear knob. Is that what you said?
Well, so Jesse's got clear knobs that he had to
yes.
modify, but that was the thing that you could get an opaque one. Like I machined one out of aluminum. I thought about filling it full of holes like Swiss cheese.
You have a resin printer, Elliot.
Yeah,
I
Just
do.
print one.
It feels better when it's made out of metal. But I made print one.
Caps.
I did. I've been trying to print some for Brian, but they're not turning out amazing. The model that he has is more difficult than the ones I designed, and I'm struggling a bit with it.
Okay.
Also, they all come out yellow. Looks like someone peed in it. It's not great.
That happens sometimes with clear resin, right?
You know what?
I was thinking it would be great is to just print and clear and then paint them black or some color and then etch away a design in the top of the key so you can have it illuminated, kind of like a double shot keycap like regular people have on their keyboards.
Cool. I was also thinking, if you get a piece of metal pipe that's the right diameter, you could pour the epoxy inside of there so you have a fancy metal edge.
Yeah, or even use a piece of acrylic rod and kind of build something up that way.
That'd be good. So how's layout going for everybody?
It's getting there. So I finally figured out how to cajole FreeCAD into doing what I wanted, and in a way that I could go back and modify if I needed. So that took me most of yesterday, and then I figured out a good way to bring that into Keycad, and I'm pretty pleased with it. I think I like the design. So it's not a square design. I did some sketching, and it's actually I combined several sketches that I had worked on to get to the design I have. And my question from earlier this morning was, have I made an error and made this too small? And it sounds like no, I should be able to do it. I'm not going to say it's going to be the easiest thing, but I should be able to do it relatively easily, especially if I use a 4-layer board. So I'm feeling better about that now.
I would say the only thing that really matters is if you're using regular keycaps, get the spacing right between the switches.
I did. So I looked it up.
And then and then do whatever.
So I looked, I did look up the spacing. So they are
18 and a half, right?
No, it's 19.05, I think. I think actually, Elliot, I think it was from like the article you linked to at some point. There was something about like keyboard style.
Keyboard units or something.
Yeah. So I did. So yeah, I think I got it right. We'll find out.
Yeah, we'll see.
There's always Rev 2.
And we will say that Keycad doesn't have real good snapping ability. So you can type in your coordinates manually, but like
I did that.
when I work with like Allegro, like I could have a circle and I could bring a footprint over and I could right click on the circle as I'm dragging it and say like snap to circle center and bam, it's in there.
So
Keycad does not have that.
And that's not so bad with a single component. You can just edit the footprint so that your origin is the center of the thing you care about. So basically, you can make your own snap, but that only works when you're moving one component at a time. If you pick up 5 of them in a group, it has no snaps whatsoever to anything, no reference point.
So I got around that by using, so I individually placed them and then just did the offsets, but then if I need to move them all together, I select them all and then use like precise move, and you can give it X and Y coordinates.
I did the same. I had a notepad full of coordinates, and it was very annoying because what I was doing is I was used the replicate layout, and I only care about the little plus on the key, like that center hole is the key thing that matters. So I look at the properties of the one component I care about and find its location, and then I know it where I want it to go, and I just do the math. But it's really unfortunate that you can't snap.
Yeah, sounds pretty tedious.
For people doing Keycad stuff, Keycad lets you do math in all the text boxes. So let's say you want a key that's like 19 millimeters to the left. What you can do is you can actually like align. Like you have a key here, align your other key on top of it, and then you can hit properties, E properties, and then you just hit plus 19, and bam, it moves over.
Oh, that's cool. That's good to know.
Yes.
Yep.
You can do division, you can do lots of stuff, which is helpful for people that are doing like circles and things. I don't know if you could do like sine cosine in there, but I wouldn't be surprised if you could.
I haven't tried the polar coordinates, but yeah, and that is definitely important. And we got a comment. What do we got here? User defined grid. I have done that as well. I think spacebar sets a local origin to your cursor when you hit it.
Oh, I tried doing
but it you can't move relative to it, at least in my limited experience. So what I did is put the origin of my board at 0, 0, which is outside of the page, the title block. But yeah, that's the hardest part, is moving individual components. Actually not so bad, because you can just say go to this exact position. And you can rotate at the same time you move, which helps for me. Mine are arrayed in a circle. So I was able to say move to consistent like 10, 0 every single time. But then it would also add a rotation about the origin of 45 degrees, which would move it and rotate it all in one step.
And that's a good point too. You are not limited to just the angles that the rotate is set up for. And you can change what the rotate is set up for in your options, I believe. But when you hit E to edit the component, you can like type whatever you want. And does it give you does it give you decimals of a degree?
Yep, 22.5 I used for some components. You can't, unfortunately, do that with the angles for traces. They snap to 90s and 45s, or they go completely free, which is not amazing. The secret workaround to that I used was, if you want to have a trace aligned to 22.5 degrees, take your entire assembly, rotate it 22.5 degrees. So now this thing you want to snap to is on one of the more orthogonal directions.
And this is with Keycad 5, right? Not 6.
Yeah, I haven't moved to 6 because I only want to give bad advice, not worse advice.
No, we're recommending people wait for Keycad 6 until after the layout, just so everybody's on the same page.
Yeah.
So everyone can suffer through it and then use the better Keycad next go.
So Parallel Logic shared 2 comments. One, you can set a custom grid, X and Y size, that can sometimes, so if you want to lay things out on a 19.05 millimeter grid, theoretically you can. You just set that. And then he said it's also useful for putting test points at 100 mil centers throughout your design to line up with the protoboard test rig. Well, thank you so much, Parallel Logic.
Now, one experiment, that's a great recommendation, and I wonder if that replicate layout plugin, if you were to take, say, your switch and you had two resistors, a capacitor, and a LED that went in groups, right? You have multiple groups of these. If you position the switches correctly using snaps, the easy way, and you use replicate layout, will it move all the other components from those sheets into the
Yeah.
relative position, even if they're rotated and all over the place?
I believe the answer is yes, because that's what I did, was because my switches are on their own hierarchy page, and then I set one of the switch. I did one switch, including all the components, the way I wanted it, and then I moved just the switch, but not the components, to the location I wanted them, and then I did the replicate, and it snapped it all where I want. Now I didn't have like any weird rotations other than 90, but but I did, yeah. The one thing I had an issue with was if you have components on the backside, I think you need to go. Sometimes it would complain if I didn't have them already flipped to the backside before I replicated them.
Interesting. Well, that's a good recommendation then. Yeah, move your whatever your anchor component is.
Yeah.
Everywhere it needs to go. I bet even if it's not rotated, you can always grab the group and rotate it about your cursor, snap it onto the center or something, and that would get you to where I needed to go a lot faster.
I think that I don't know. I didn't try. I think I might have gotten lucky when I did this, but I think what you actually have to do is when you go do replicate, because you have to click on an item from the hierarchical page that you're wanting. Mm-hmm. The component you need to click on the switch component though, not any of the resistors or capacitors. Because if you do, then that becomes the anchor point.
It organizes them all around that.
Everything else. So
and if the capacitors are floating off on the other side of your sheet.
So line up all the switches and then select the switch for your base replication, and then it will be fine.
Okay. That would be a good shortcut. I wish I had tried that.
I think that's how it worked, but I'm not sure. Sorry, I stepped on someone.
That's fine. I was just going to say, Elliot, I have 2 Keycad complaints. I'm wondering if you have solutions too, because you've probably used Keycad at this point close to how much I have, because you've been doing that IPC thing. So you've spent many, many, many hours. So was it Goof in the forums complaining about the sheets? Like, let's say you have like how Mark did it, where each key is its own sheet, and then you end up with like 30 pages or whatever. If you need to change one of those sheets, do you have to like delete and redo them all? Like,
if you need to change, well, I guess let me rephrase that. Like, if they all need to be identical, you can change the one file that's used on all of the sheets, right? And it is the same. That's the only thing is the ref designators are different, right? So you can edit the one like key switch.sch file. But if you need,
unless you add or remove like extra inputs and outputs, right? That doesn't seem to carry over. You have to do that individually.
Yes, you basically you can, even if you replicate the hierarchical sheet, you still have to add. I don't know a shortcut to add the components other than there's a right-click way, which I got from a YouTube video, and then I found out later there's a button, there's a tool you can pick up that says insert labels, and then you can put all your sheets there and just click, and it's much faster. It's just a single click to add them, or maybe 2 clicks. But yeah, there's not a good way to like duplicate and connect with all the same points, or even just duplicate with the connections on it that I'm aware of.
Okay.
It'd be nice if there was.
So changes inside the sheets, will propagate to everything, but it won't bring in your labels if you updated your pins that go in and out of the sheets. And there's no way to make the sheets like disappear, kind of like dip trace does, where it only shows one key and then every key is like, underscore something or other.
No, but there's sort of a cheat. You can add a single hierarchical sheet called keys, and then underneath that put more hierarchical sheets for each key, so that at your top level it looks like one box, and then when you go into that sheet it has its own children.
Okay.
Babies having babies.
That's what it is.
So that's what I did. I think that's what I did. So I have a sheet with all my 10 switches, and then within that sheet, I have my individual keys as it has their own sheet, and then you go into that sheet, and that's where the actual key layout. Is that what you're talking about? The nesting.
Yep. So you have
Which
you
is-
have children, you have layers.
Yeah. Which looks like, Mark, that's what you, I think, were showing on one of the reading assignments when to like lay out the hierarchical sheets. That's what I was just trying to copy was that. So I think if you follow the reading, I think you should have ended up with that.
So I think Altium does a different thing where you get like a sheet and then it shows sort of like a stack of them and it says there are 3 of this and it doesn't actually break them out separately. It just kind of indicates that there's multiples here.
Yeah. I tried. Well, I mean, the reading for the layout week wasn't great. I spent all my time messing around with that video there. But yeah, that's the basic idea. And by the way, side note, the only reason that we did hierarchical layout in in the first version of this course was Keycad required it. We had a flat schematic initially, and we had to go hierarchical because the Keycad folks couldn't copy it. So that's what took us down this route. Now, that was a year and a half ago, but
well, you can do a single page. You can do a single sheet layout.
Yeah, just really big page.
Really big page.
Well, then I had bad information. I don't know. I don't Keycad.
If you remember, I mean, I can show you if you want, but if you remember, Mark, like it was like week 2 when we were like picking out stuff, and I was like, "Have I gone too far?" Because like I was like trying to like pick all the resistors I'd need, and you're like, "Oh yeah, no, that's too far." And I had shared that screen clip. I can bring it up if you want again.
Sure.
Yeah, I think you can't have multiple pages that are connected with globals.
Well, you can have global labels, but
yes,
you can't have multiple pages that aren't hierarchical. Maybe is what you're saying.
Yeah, like
So
when
you
I
can't
did
just have
pads,
page 1 and a page 2.
when I did pads, that's what we did. We had like page 1, 2, 3, and that's usually about the max of it. And they were not sheets like hierarchical. So
I would have really liked that actually, because for that IPC thing, I really wanted to have additional pages with my title block that I could put other stuff on. I ended up making hierarchical pages just to do that. But yeah, Keycad doesn't even number the pages. It just labels them with the file name.
Interesting.
I was going to say my other complaint about Keycad, if I can get that off quick,
of course,
was so how, even if you have an object that's locked, like sometimes it's you can't not select it. You know what I mean? Like if something's locked and I like your board, you know, my board symbol, I'm like, oh, I'm going to grab the switch, and it's like, no, I'm grabbing the outline behind it. And if it's locked, or even if it's not visible, you can still grab it.
You want it to be unselectable, like frozen, right? Visible, but like Inkscape does this. Yeah, that locking, all it does is makes you have to cancel a dialog box when you accidentally select it. And then if you're chain selecting a bunch of things, you lose that. And it really doesn't serve any purpose. I wouldn't recommend doing it because it won't help you.
And even if it's not visible, you can still grab it, which is dumb.
I haven't had that problem, but I think if there's any part of it that may be visible, like on one of those non-printing layers or whatever you want to call them, fab layers or something, there's little blue, and it's hard to see blue on black, and they're like little tick marks and random parts of certain footprints that you can grab and be disappointed.
I didn't have that issue as much on this one, but the previous version of Teach Me PCB had this big LCD display, and I kept grabbing that thing no matter what. No matter how I tried to hide things, like only show the front layer, it's still grabbing this back layer part, and it was not great.
Watch your board outlines. I found it more than once that while you're like maneuvering things inside of it, you'll accidentally move it too, and then it will be shifted off of whatever point you used as an origin. But you won't realize it until later, and you're like, hang on, I'm trying to snap this other object in the center, and now everything's out of whack, or 2/3 of it is, or you hope you have enough undo steps to get back to where it was put. Yeah, that's frustrating.
All right, so we've got Andrew sharing a screen. So I'm going to minimize all of us and maximize him.
So this is how I laid out my project originally. So you can see I got it all on there. But you can also see I have like I use global labels basically everywhere to make it easier so I wasn't having like crisscrossing lines. So I would agree that this is not a great way of doing it, because if you need to go update something, would have had to like update every single one of these. And this is before I knew about hierarchical layout. So, another good reason to take this class is to learn about how to do that. But this is just, A4 size. So you could easily go up to, a different, A3 or A2 and get twice as much or 4 times as much space if you needed to. So I think you could do it this way if you needed to.
That's how I would have done it until I learned about a hierarchical layout. And in the case where you're not having a lot of repetition, it probably doesn't make a big difference. But when you have that switch and the resistors like 8 times, that's where it really shines.
Yep.
Or 20 times or whatever.
Yeah.
And you can use, in this case, global labels aren't necessary, right? A net label, which is the arguably harder to follow because they're on top of the lines. But when you have a lot of wires next to each other, hard to figure out which one goes to which. That would work in this case too.
I use global labels because they terminate, and so I would know that that was sort of the end of the line. I guess you can have, like if you have like a line like that,
you can have a wire going off to nowhere with only a net label, and it is okay.
Well, no, I know you can have it, but like from a visual standpoint of did I forget to connect something, it's helpful to have like a terminator. So if I put, a net test, like there, did I forget to do it, or do I probably would have just put it at the end, maybe. Yes,
I completely agree with that.
But I wanted to, make sure I was actually doing it.
Now, does Keycad give you a net connectivity report?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. And it will complain. So
pin types
on your well, I hate pin types. I don't use pin types. But when you do your power, like your power and ground, you need to add power flags. I think it has something to do with because there's simulation things. Otherwise, like by default, you shouldn't have to do that to not give you DRCs. That's dumb.
Yeah, if you use the default, the included power symbols from the libraries, there is a setting. So I made a power symbol, and there's a secret thing you have to do.
Yeah, I was going to show.
It automatically sets anything they're connected to. It acts as a power flag.
Yeah, I had to do the power flag on ground. I had to fix some things in this Pico to get it to clear my electrical connection. And
in this case, I think I found that with the Pico because if you, it doesn't seem like the symbol has internal connections. So, for example, connecting ground to your USB ground, whatever, only really works for pin 3. It doesn't automatically make pins 36 and the rest of them. I feel like Keycad doesn't understand that they are also ground. Maybe that's wrong, but
so what I think is happening is that this ground should be a power output, not a power input, but all the other grounds should be power inputs. Because this is a ground that's associated with a power source, not a power sink.
Right. So if you make all those inputs and make your USB plug have the output for ground.
Yeah.
Or use a power flag. But it's kind of fishy. I wish there was a more visual way to understand what it wants you to do.
And I don't think there's a way, like we did a battery terminal, or we did a battery connector on the last class, and it was a coin cell, and 2 of the pads are connected because it's a giant chunk of metal, and there's no way for it to know that. It's like you didn't connect the side. Like let's say you had, they're both connected to, I think that's positive voltage and ground is the center. I don't remember, one or the other. And it would complain if you didn't connect both sides to the plane, even if it was not like convenient for you to do so. You're like, well, electrically these are connected because this is metal, but it doesn't see that. Or same thing with the Pico, all those grounds are connected together, but it will not be happy. You'll have to either put like a no connect flag or connect them all, or otherwise it'll complain to you.
Yeah, there's a thing with hidden pins that I think you can do in the symbol to make that work too.
Yeah, I'm with Jesse. I don't define pin types, input, output, power, ground. I just leave them all undefined because otherwise it does become quite maddening when you do the ERC.
Mhm.
And
I've never had it save me.
What's that?
I said I've never had it save me, and it's always annoyed me.
My recent experience was I had to troubleshoot what the software was trying to tell me, not a problem with my schematic.
Interesting. Yeah, that ground thing, that just doesn't make any sense to me, that you have to define some as outputs and some as inputs. You can't just define them as power.
Yeah, so I have it defined. I have them all defined as power inputs. I have VBus as a power output and 3V3 as a power output. And it looks like, I don't know why the screen is tearing on my screen sharing, but if I delete, it's like right now, if I run the electrical rules checker, I don't know if you can actually see it, but it runs and it says finished and it doesn't complain. But if I delete that and then I run it, it's going to complain. So it complains about, and it'll do a random pin every time. So like this time it's complaining about, where did it go? Pin.
Yeah, it's kind of like a goose chase to figure it out.
Yeah, and like you'll like change something, or you'll reroute a wire, or like you think that like maybe something didn't get connected. And actually it did save me because I did have like a couple wires that weren't connected and I thought they were. So I will say that the electrical rules connector was helpful for me. But I did spend 30 minutes trying to chase this whole thing down with that phantom power, not power thing.
Oh,
So
I think the ERC is absolutely necessary. I just mean pin type conflicts.
Oh, okay.
Like a single connected net should definitely be flagged, but like this is an output and you have it connected to an input, like that's never helped me.
Yeah,
so I think in this case, in your ground or power net, you have to have one output and everything else has to be an input on it. Otherwise, it's unhappy.
That would annoy me. The other issue that you have too, like if you're using, if there's an inline resistor on something, at least in dip trace, as far as I know, then you have to go define the, if you've got a digital output, then you have to make the resistor an input, and that doesn't make any sense. And it just, I just undefine everything.
I haven't had trouble with that, but I will say I'm disappointed. I used Easy EDA before, and if you say put a resistor in line with something, the net names will make sense. If you go from like a pin to the resistor to some other passive, and then the passive to something else, it'll maintain like a meaningful net name throughout. But here you kind of lose all semblance of, and labeling every single segment between components with a name is unfortunate.
I will say I used to not label my nets as much, but I found it is helpful because sometimes you want to be able to, like, when all you have is sky wires, you want to be able to see what some of those are functionally, so you like can figure out where to place them before you're into route.
When you say sky wires, what are those?
Like rats lines, like just
like shooting off
unconnected
the screen.
before anything's connected, you just have all the lines.
Oh yeah, the rat's nest.
Yep.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, I'm guessing you means the ones that like bugger off so far away that like you can't really figure out where they're from with your current view.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now I will sit down and name every net. I don't like leaving things like net 34 and net 35 because that's meaningless to me. One of the things I always think about isn't just, can I figure it out now? Like, what if I look at this 5 years from now? Am I going to remember what I'm doing? And net 34, I'm not, Can
you label the nets and their net classes in the schematic, or do you have to do it on the PCB?
You can do them in the schematic on dip trace. I would assume you can on Keycad as well.
I didn't try. I just went straight to the PCB and classified them.
What do you mean? So, yeah, you name them.
Oh, you name them on the schematic, but you assign their like net class.
Oh yeah, like power, blah 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 blah.
But yeah, so there is a way to do it. And actually, you do it from the PCB though. I think.
Okay.
You're not wanting. But it's a tool.
Like,
you don't have to like select every single one. You can say like filter on these. Okay, yeah.
Yep. So I've named my nets with like some like digital something or whatever, so I know they're easy to like group together. It would be really handy if you could just. So I think in Altium I saw, maybe it was just graphical, but you can draw a box around stuff and all the components in it. You can assign to a net class that way. Like
Rooms. Yeah.
rooms. Sure. Yeah. Whatever that is. I don't know if
It's
Keycad
great.
does that. It looks awesome.
I hate rooms. At least I
Really?
hate
I like it.
I hate the automatic rooms that like Altium does, because you're like, it complains, oh, these aren't in your room. It's like, really? Just delete all the rooms every time I re-import. Yeah, I don't see anything where you can look at nets inside the schematic editor. I wonder if there might be a plugin for it.
Apparently, plugins only exist for schematic editor, not for anything else. Someone was saying.
When I'm inside of generate netlist under tools, it says add plugin. No. Browse plugins.
You wait. I see generate netlist. I don't see plugins though in mine.
When I hit generate netlist under PCB new, there's add
Oh, you're
plugin
right.
as an option. And maybe there's one that lets you like look at your nets that it's going to be generating, but I don't know. Maybe
Yeah.
Keycad 6.
Yeah, we'll say that.
We'll know soon. Is it out yet? Do we know?
Yeah, it is. I think it is. I thought I saw someone post on Twitter about their excitement that it kind of came out early, right?
Well, we're
Can't
gonna
hear
be
you, Elliot.
we're going to be in a position where we can flip to that soon enough. Everybody's doing layout in 5.99, and we still have to do some peer review. We still have to do some DFM checks and all that. But once that's done and you guys send all your boards off to the board houses to make them, you could conceivably upgrade.
So
Wait,
we're all on like
that one?
5.11 actually. 599 is the same as 6.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah. I was gonna say 599 is 6. Is it 6 alpha or 6 beta? I'm using 5.1.12, which is the latest released. That's not. Is that the right one?
Yeah, that's the right one.
I have no idea.
599
making
is
up
the
numbers.
release candidate for 6.
Yeah.
Cool.
And I don't see 6 listed on their website,
I don't
so
either, but someone was posting about how they were excited. They got like some notification about 6.
Maybe they trolled you,
Let's
Jesse.
tweet more things that say 6 in them to that
I-
guy and see
That's
how
true.
excited he gets.
it was the woman who was pressing the button and then clipping her toenails that bugged Jess. She released it on Twitter.
So my problem with dip trace, when I was putting things in groups and it was throwing a center like 12 inches up and to the left, I bugged them about it and they fixed it in 2 days.
Dang.
Nice.
Re-released dip trace. They're like, yeah, we know. We already fixed it in source code.
I like when people actually do that. My claim to fame is I found a bug in a Dell BIOS and I emailed them about it and they fixed it. It took them like 6 months, but they did fix it, which was nice.
Do you know how long it takes me to find bugs? I am so flipping good at it. It's not even funny.
This was an interesting one. It was if you have a Dell laptop, and if you took the battery out, and if you turn the Dell laptop battery, so you're just running off of the AC cord, and if you had Wake on LAN enabled, and if you then hard powered off, or if you removed power from the power source, plugged it back in, and tried to do a Wake on LAN, it wouldn't detect Wake on LAN anymore. So you'd be stuck. It worked if the battery was in, but not if the battery was out.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I
A
once
feature.
had the Beagle Bone Black with the Lightcrafter cape fail every time my air conditioning turned on at the far end of the house.
Like EM burst?
No, the thing was on such, it was poorly designed. The layout's horrible. And it was within I forget the number, but it was within like 1/10 of a volt of brownout reset during normal operation. Yeah. So then, you get that, the line voltage drops ever so slightly, and then, you pop into that brownout reset region.
That's super easy to do with ESP32, at least whatever dev boards I have. Like, they're super touchy. You can, if you boot them up in the wrong order, turning the Wi-Fi radio on will make the thing get in a loop.
Yep.
It's no fun.
Time-wise, this really does feel like a spot in the course that needs 2 weeks. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my gosh.
Even absent the holiday.
Yeah, I'm gonna do
Well-
another design, but I was hoping to see some people and how we can get like some layouts up on the forum so we can actually get some feedback and learn some new things. I haven't seen anything in either the old or new forum.
So people, until we push them there, I've got it set into it's not auto subscribe, it's opt in. So people have to actually go to a forum and type something before they're signed up for that forum.
Right. But either
So
one
then-
though, I just haven't seen anything exciting happening. So
Yeah,
I
well,
get some posted.
yes, we do need to get some stuff posted, but part of that is my fault. I mean, first of all, I'm glad we have the forums that we do now. It seems better anyway. But since we had the crappy version before for so long, that kind of turned people off, and turning them back on again is a trick.
Yeah. So I had a thought about that, and I'm curious to know, like, what's the easiest way to share a layout so that people can look at it? I actually think sharing like the Keycad source files, so you can like open it up and do the 3D view and like poke around, would be the really easy to kind of like zoom around, flip through layers. If we do PDFs where each layer is on a page, or I'm not sure if there's a good way of doing it.
Why don't
Might be a little
we
more difficult.
iframe a Gerber viewer?
Yeah.
Noodle?
We'll
What's
just
that?
send them to Osh Park.
Yeah.
Well, no, a lot of them use I can't think of it. If I heard the name, I would totally know it. But a lot of them use something that you can get from that we can get off of GitHub. And I'm looking for it right now. So the UCamco one is free. That works, but it sometimes throws a bunch of unnecessary errors. GitHub. Gosh, why can't I think of the name? Don't you hate that? Y'all are quiet now.
I'm
It's just
trying to.
just a human thing.
Just a human thing. Okay. I didn't know if I lost you again. I lost at the very beginning. Okay. What about the Gerber viewers at, okay, I know how to find it. What's the name of the cheap board house?
PCB. right?
JLC PCB.
JLC PCB?
One, yep.
Okay, so they have a Gerber viewer, which looks really cool, except it's not their Gerber viewer. So if we go to that Gerber viewer with some, no, I don't want to do cookies, but if we look at the bottom of that one or look at the source code for which one they're using, that is on GitHub. I did it like last month, and I don't know why I'm blanking. Where is their Gerber viewer? How come I can't find it? I guess get instant quote. Except, oh, I don't know if I have Gerbers on this laptop. No, Mr. Bill. Let's see. We got this. We can do this.
Are people gonna be like? Are they gonna care about giving away their Gerber files? I mean, I don't know if people think they have any IP in that.
I don't know that anybody is so invested in this project that they would. I don't know.
I guess you could always give the option that you can give, like, have a PDF that has like top layer, bottom layer, inner one, inner two, etc. I don't usually do individual Gerber layers for views like that because it's harder to see. But
Let me ask the people on the call, would you guys care about sharing your Gerbers?
Nope.
I would be
No.
happy to.
Happy to do it.
And then even if you like poked them apart and pointed out all the rooms for improvement, I know
Absolutely.
I would learn from that. But if you, I would volunteer if you want to like
I'll be
teach
tribute.
other people what I did wrong.
Yeah, no, that would be great. So the PDF markup thing that we have that I've used on the data sheets, I believe I can assign that as an individual file that we could do. So that's one way to get around it. Okay, so where is
Trace
this my viewer?
space.
Trace
This one looks
space.
good.
That is that it? That sounds familiar.
So that's one of them. There's a lot of results in Google.
Gerber viewer. Okay, I finally found the JLPCB Gerber viewer. I had to upload the brain board.
Tracespace.io.
That sounds familiar.
So yeah, I mean, I just put a zip of the Gerber up there, and then anybody can take it. It'd be awesome if we could upload it and share a link to it. Does it do that?
Your design has problems. Yeah,
Tell me about
I
it.
know.
Something I don't know.
I know. Okay, is this our Gerber viewer? Is this the right one? Why so slow? This is annoying me. TraceSpace sounds familiar, and I believe that's on. Is that the one that's on GitHub?
It's on GitHub. That's how I found it. I'm going to test it out. It looks like it's, so the project is on GitHub, and then tracespace.io is like a publicly accessible version of it.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it's kind of cool, actually.
That looks just like the PCB way one.
So that's
It
what
could
we're
be
looking
the
for. Then.
PCB one.
No, I'm telling you, they don't make their own. They're all using.
Mhm.
They're all using some other project. TraceSpace sounds really familiar. That could be it.
Oh, there we go. There's
But
my.
anyway, so what we would do is then incorporate that into.
Oh yeah, that looks
into-
exactly. They must. Yep.
That's
I
it then.
agree. Bam. That guy.
What I was wondering is if you could
Can you
save
share?
a shareable link. Yeah.
Let's find out.
There's a button that says show saved boards.
Download SVG renders. View source.
If you do, if you click on the
This
little
is it.
gear next to the example, so the example I have is the Arduino Uno. So you click on the gear icon,
Mhm.
and then it shows you the URL that they were using. So it's like tracespace.io/view/board URL equals, and then the location of the board. Is that what you're looking for?
If that works for the ones we upload, then that makes
Yeah,
like
it's any publicly accessible. So I think that you would have to just be logged in potential. Well, I don't know how the cookies that you might run into cookie issues at that point and authentication issues.
So I'm looking at that little gear menu for the one I just uploaded, and I don't see it.
Oh, check it out. If you click that gear thing, it lets you pick colors too. You know, like Elliot's chart. It's not. They could add a few, but it's GitHubbed. If somebody was so inclined,
Looks like you can
You
access
can
it on
manually choose
every
them.
layer.
Yeah.
Those are just presets.
Yeah. I
okay, I
used a
don't.
similar thing to get mine to look like it would look like, and
I don't see where we can
see where-
save and share this though.
So you see the link I sent in the chat?
No, I was
No.
playing on.
I don't
Google.
see it.
I don't see it either.
In the YouTube chat. Try to put it in the
Ah.
private.
Yep, let me go check YouTube. I don't see it in the YouTube chat either.
Yeah, I don't see anything either, buddy.
Okay, I'll just put it in the other place and you can copy it over. There you go.
Got it. Give me a second. Okay, but that's a saved board. That's an Arduino, right?
Right. So if you have another board that's already been uploaded and you replace that and you point the board URL to that, that would work then. So
So
Oh,
the file
I
I
gotcha.
uploaded does not have a
gotcha.
URL in that menu.
So we would host them somewhere else. It would have to be publicly accessible,
probably.
but we would host them like at Teach Me PCB, and then share that over.
Well, let me back up. Is the goal to make it easier for people to be able to view files without having to download them?
I mean, it'd be awesome if I could say, "Here's my design.
Yeah.
Check it out at this."
So I guess the question for Mark is, within Moodle, if someone uploads something, do you have the option of setting it to be public or not?
No,
Okay, so it's always going to be behind the password.
it's always going to be on the server It's okay. Yeah. So the way that the Moodle's set up, the data directory is not direct. It's not accessible, but
No.
there's
So
ways
sorry.
around that.
Well, so to clarify, it's not the. Yeah. Okay. We can talk offline maybe because that might be something. Okay. There might be a way to do it.
Oh
So-
no, I think the way to do it, if I link something that doesn't have that issue, like if I incorporate Dropbox or Box.net, something that has file sharing, and redirect. Yeah, I'll have to play around with it, and we can talk offline because it might take a little finagling.
Check out.
it's-
I was
Go
going
ahead.
to say, check out the second. So on that GitHub page, which I should post, there's a second link called kitspace.org that apparently is using this project, and it looks like it's set up for sharing. I don't even know if you need to make an account here. I'm testing it out.
Oh, it does look like it's set up for sharing.
So
But see now that might make people a little more uncomfortable. I don't know.
or we could just attach the zip file to our forum post and we can download and then
Yeah.
have someone else put it somewhere on the internet.
Yeah, but I don't want to be downloading stuff from Elliot because you're just
Fair. That's fair.
I mean, you could always, at least for the Keycad people, you could just have, like Mark had said with Osh Park, you could just put your PCB board file, and then someone could just pop that into Osh Park's viewer.
Yeah.
Then you
And
don't got to worry
I mean,
about libraries and get setting your project up or any of that jazz.
Okay,
I know.
so
I was just going to say, I think Dirty PCBs has a deal where you can save a design and then make it available for other people to order. That's a form of sharing.
Osh Park has that too, actually.
okay, so that lets us view the Gerbers, but that doesn't let us necessarily make easy comments on them. So if we see something that we want to comment on, that PDF viewer is really a lot better for that type of thing, because then you can highlight a particular portion of the board and say, hey, look at this. We could just do screen captures, let people just upload stuff as they see them too. What do you think would be best, most convenient?
I mean, in the last class, what we did was we just took the screenshots of the top and bottom and inner one, inner two, and then you just kind of looked at them. Sometimes it's also helpful to have top and bottom. It depends on how your planes. If you make your planes invisible, then you can kind of see how things lay on top of each other. But
I think PDFs is going to be the easiest way, honestly, because of the annotation feature. Like, I like the idea of being able to view the Gerber files, but I just don't know if that's going to be practical.
Yeah.
And I like to annotate because I think that's important for the feedback part.
Yeah.
And if someone wants it, say, hey, you could also say if you want to post it, you can post it too, and then people could download that as well. So do both if you wanted.
The other thing to consider too is, 98% of the class is using Keycad. We could just go CAD file.
Yep, that's probably adequate. I trust everybody here. I'll totally download their files.
I'll make sure to send you a special one then.
I'll reply with a spreadsheet that doesn't have features at all.
does Keycad complain when you open raw PCB files without like project set up?
Only if you don't have like the symbols. Maybe that would be one issue, like the footprints, or you know what I mean? You know what I'm talking about?
It's kind of an unnatural way to do it, but if you go to PCB new and hit file open.
Yeah, but you have to have all the footprints though. If you don't have if you have custom footprints, then you
it'll
need that
give you
footprint.
those weird question marks or whatever, like it does in the schematic.
Yep.
Interesting. Okay, so we can talk about this offline, and I'll play around, figure out what it is that we're going to do. Anything else for the good of the cause? If not, I have one last question.
I've got my second version of this board. I can show you guys what
God,
acrylic looks like.
Let's
I did
see
have
it.
I had a question for ordering. I know we're not going to order PCBs yet, but should we be thinking about ordering components? Or should
Yeah, except I'm shipping starting tomorrow. So I've packaged, boxed. Everybody who put in a component request is getting a complete kit, except for switches. I don't have because everybody's using different switches. All the other components are coming your way.
Right, but for stuff that we wouldn't be getting through you if we were doing something for ordering
Order
our
it
own.
now. Yep.
Do 'em.
Go ahead and do it now.
Right.
And if you want someone to double check it, you can always post it up and people can look at it. Like if you're worried about losing the money.
No.
But keep in mind, if you're worried about that, the components might be gone by the time you get there, which happened to me a couple times already.
And that was my concern, is that I want to order before.
Yep.
Yeah, it's time.
Holidays. Yeah.
Elliot, what do you got for us?
Well, my camera needs glasses. That's so what that is 1/4-inch acrylic with the neopixels on the bottom of the board shining down into it, and it actually looks really good, in my opinion. I think I can do some different colors here. Yeah, you can make it like. Oh, go ahead.
Do you have more lights underneath the keys as well?
Yes, so you can kind of see that happening.
Yep.
Somewhere here I can make it do different stuff. I don't know which button's which because this is round. Oh, here we go. It goes in a circle.
Wow.
But yeah, when the layout is symmetrical and like whatever, tessellated, however you want to call it, one of these buttons changes what's going to go on. There we go.
There you go.
That's bright and very washed out. That's really bright, like the sun. That one's just on, and that's nothing. So the buttons have a little bit of reaction deal going on.
That's
One of them changes the color. One of them changes the animation. One of them makes it cycle through all colors.
Wow.
But I think this edge lit. I don't know how you can see that. This situation is very nice looking. So.
Are the
You can do
LEDs into the acrylic? Is the acrylic in a ring that's open in the middle, or is it a flat?
It is
one
actually.
that's on
So
top
this
of?
is also out of focus. But what I did is I just cut out clearance all the way through the acrylic everywhere there was an LED or another component. So if I had that piece, it has a cutout where the Pico is, a cutout for the switches, a cutout for basically everything. Looks ton of holes, and then it's just a continuous edge around the outside, which makes it kind of into a giant light pipe.
And did you print those keys yourself?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah, they came out all right. I think you're going to get better quality from like injection molded ones, but I think they're passable. I don't like the color, but they are functional.
You didn't want a spring for injection molding yet?
So tempting.
He's looked into it.
My dad is a machinist, tool and die, like mold maker. And
Oh,
in the past we've made one mold together for a project. So it crossed my mind.
That is cool. Hey man, tomorrow night, Hackaday Show and Tell.
Oh, I think it's Adafruit. I've got a thing.
Oh,
otherwise
Adafruit,
I'd
yeah.
consider it. Yeah.
Wow, that's cool.
Don't worry.
That
Once
is
we
cool.
finish with this, we'll be able to share them. We'll share them all. I got your logo on here. It looks blurry. Very blurry. But it looks
I can
good
see
in
it.
person.
I can
blob.
see it.
Andrew's got it.
Yeah. Like, there we go.
I think I should have got a different potato instead of this
Yeah.
one. I have.
It's cool, man. It is cool. Well, nice. That is neat.
So yeah. But that look I think is pretty slick. So if anybody really wants one, I'll cut you a piece of acrylic and send it.
Man, yeah. Put me down. That's going to be a marketing sample, baby. Woo!
You've just got to send me the shape.
Send you the what?
Oh, if anyone wants a piece of acrylic to do a similar thing on their board, if they haven't already
Oh,
finished their design, I would be willing to cut some out and send them, assuming they don't get broken in half by the USPS.
yeah, right. No, I would actually be fine, even if you don't want to, make me one, which would be a lot of work. With some good pictures and maybe a video would be wonderful.
Yeah, I'll send you one once I make some keys I'm happy with.
That is
Maybe-
cool, man.
Maybe Mark,
That
we
is
can
cool.
talk offline with Elliot about a laser cut company that's been mentioned before.
Okay,
So
very cool. All right, and then I forgot what I was going to say for the good of the cause. Oh, part kits are going out starting tomorrow. So everybody who in the United States that put one down, they're going to be to you within a week, I hope. For people that are overseas, it's a little more difficult. It just doesn't become cost effective to ship you the parts, because once I ship you the parts, you have to pay value added tax. Shipping's a nightmare. It would actually probably be cheaper just for you to source your parts in your home country. Now, that said, if we do have anybody in the European Union that would be okay with reshipping, I could ship one package out to you. And then from there, give you the addresses for the other, the other people, because there's quite a few people in, it looks like the European Union. So that might be a way to go. Other than that, if you are unable to get parts, I do have some spares. So let me know. Even though it is more expensive, if you can't get them, you can't get them. I'll ship them to you. That's okay. Other than that, next week, the plan is to do a peer review. And then after the peer review, a DFM, design for manufacture check. Then we order boards and we're off to the races. We do have some events coming up on the 2nd. We've got, I forget his name. Last name's Crawford from IPC is going to join us for a webinar about the IPC standards. So you might want to come hang out, especially Elliot. This is the guy running the competition that you're participating in. So come say
I've
hi.
emailed with him a couple times. That's tomorrow.
The 2nd.
Is that right? What day is the 2nd?
Thursday.
Middle of the day?
Yeah.
You could just tell him I said hi then. I'll watch it.
Okay.
I'll watch it later.
On the 9th, we're going to have Mike Conrad of Aqueous Tech. He creates some PCB cleaning solutions that we use in our shop. He recently did some very interesting research as far as I'm concerned. And one of the conclusions that they came up with was if you don't hit your peak reflow temperature within, and it's some ridiculously small percentage off, like 0.5% of the peak reflow temperature, if you're under it, you're going to be leaving contaminants behind on your board that will definitely affect the reliability of your design. That basically means all of us with toaster oven reflows,
Are screwed.
we're out there hitting rocks with hammers. But it was interesting. I haven't seen that research before. So that's interesting. After that, the week after that, I still have to confirm, but we should have Joe Selvik and Duncan Louder of Fixture Fab joining us. And they're going to tell us about PCB test fixture, how to optimize that, how to program that. The last time we had them on was for the first Teach Me PCB. And it is seriously our most popular YouTube content on our either one of our YouTube channels. So we should have some very interesting Thursdays lined up for you guys. So if you can make it for Lunch and Learn, come out to Lunch and Learn. I think that's pretty much all my announcements. Hopefully you're enjoying the course. I would like you to try to keep in just nothing official, but try to keep an idea of how much time you're spending on your layout, so that I can better report that if we are able to do Teach Me PCB again. And that's pretty much all my announcements. Did you guys have anything?
I don't want to tell you how much time I've spent on these.
Yeah, I probably have like close to 20 hours already.
That's not bad. That's
No, it's not. It's time. It just, yeah.
time. Yeah. Well,
Yep, I'm probably in the same boat. plus some for doing it 3 times over.
Well, that's on you, but I still want to know.
Yeah.
I will say that I've not viewed this as like a chore. I've looked forward to doing it. And so really the challenge I've had is just finding the time to be able to go do it. And then I've enjoyed doing it though. So it's not felt like it's been hard to do. It just takes time.
So
It's like a 3D puzzle.
Yeah.
How I like
It
to
is.
put
Oh my
the
gosh.
layouts.
It tickles that. It's like the ultimate way to nerd snipe me. It's
I
great.
really enjoy it. Yeah, once you get started, it's addicting.
Yeah.
Dangerous.
No, but that's one of the comments I've seen is, people are, Mark says this will take 3 to 5 hours, a week. They're like 3 to 5 hours a day. And I'm like, dang, I'm sorry. I didn't want that to be the case. I want there to be enrichment activities for those people who have time, but I also wanted to not consume your life because people have lives, So
one thing I do worry about is that, like, as we go into the holiday season, people are going to be doing like family stuff and more vacations and things like that. So I'm wondering if it might make sense to slow roll a little bit the rest of the year, potentially.
Well,
once the layout's done, there's not much left to do beyond review and then just kind of like follow up topics while everyone waits for their board, I think.
yeah, we should be done here. Let me see. So we are going to be doing DFM the week of the 6th, and from the 13th through the 1st of next year, we're kind of done. We're waiting for boards. There will be content on the website, like the design for test and all that, but it's nothing that requires people to do much of anything until we get our boards back. And then we have to start talking about assembling and bringing up the boards. But we can push that till, when would we want to do that? The week of January 3rd?
We wouldn't get boards until next year then.
Well, no, you can order boards. You'll have them before Christmas.
Oh, okay. I didn't know how long it takes to do it.
Yeah,
No,
if you use
it's like a
JOC,
week.
the turnaround's about a week. I ordered one before Cyber Week, and it showed up on, yesterday, Monday. So it took a week even during the worst shipping time ever.
Okay.
So yeah, so you should have this stuff theoretically the week of the 20th. Worst case, you have it the week of the 27th, but that's all holiday time. People will be traveling. They'll be doing family stuff. So we should be back at it. If you think it's okay, we'll be back at it the week of January 3rd. So everything after this week is error corrections and trying our best to make sure that you get a working board. So. But yeah, keep me in the loop on all that. If things are overwhelming, I want to know. Because I want you guys to be successful. It's your first time. It's exciting. It's a lot of fun. I have fun. So, all right. Is there anything else you need from me, website wise, content wise, anything wise?
I don't think so.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, gentlemen. It's always a pleasure having you around. And thank you to our sponsors. Thank you to my co-facilitator, Jesse Robinson. Thank you, Jesse. I couldn't do this without you, man. I can barely do it with you. I certainly can't do it without you. So thank you so much. And Elliot and Andrew for being such active participants. Thank you to our sponsors, Advanced Assembly, Royal Circuit Solutions, Walkway. We've got DigiKey, theanalog.io, the best newsletter you're not reading. If you haven't seen it already, sign up. I will also say, sign up for Advanced Assembly's YouTube channel. We're currently at about 430, 440 subscribers. Once we get to 500, I've got something special to take apart on Mark Voids of Warranty. And I'd really like to take it apart. So if you haven't already, subscribe, like, and try this. Share it with your friends. Share it with your neighbors. Share it with your friends' neighbors. Share it with your neighbors' friends. But let's get up to 500, guys. That's it. Thanks so much. We'll see you guys in the forums and on Discord. Take care.